In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, we are going to talk about the Sweet 16. We're going to talk about which NBA prospects could swing their team's matchups with their performances and how it could shape their draft stocks. And we are going to talk about the X factors. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my brother, James Barlowe. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So check it out at FanDuel.com. If you're not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Boy YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, and click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we are your daily source for NBA draft content. And if you love the NBA, your favorite podcast, your favorite Locked On podcast has a newsletter, so check it out at lockedondaily.com. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every single day. All right, James, Sweet 16. We are recording this on a Wednesday night. By the time this airs, it will be game day. We got 4 matchups. And before I get into it, I just don't like the fact that these matchups are all going on at the same time. Like, it's a 6:09 start. We're on Central Time. 6:09 start for BYU, Alabama, and then Florida and Maryland at 6:39. So it's like, do we split this up? Do you watch one game, I watch the other game, and then we just share our thoughts tomorrow night? I have no idea. I wish it was spread out a little bit more, but I understand that, you want the primetime hours, but we are here. Sweet 16 weekend. What is your favorite matchup?
I'm going to ride the Derik Queen train against Florida. That's going to be a good matchup. Queen, Condon, Florida's guards. I'm looking forward to that one. And also, I always want to see Cooper Flag. Like I mentioned in the last podcast that we all did together. I think he's got a monster performance left in him, and we'll see if that's what he needs for Duke to beat Arizona.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually every game. This or for on Thursday, I'm looking forward to watching all of them. The problem is I can't at the same time. I can try the 2 screens. Yeah, I can try the iPad on one looking up, but I definitely want to see Alabama BYU. The Condon and Derik Queen matchup is going to be interesting. Carter Bryant and Duke. I think Arizona is a different team than they were earlier in the season. Duke is definitely a different squad. Then you got the whole Arkansas team, which, they were 0-5 when conference play started. So there's a lot of matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing on Thursday. But let's start with Alabama BYU. And I'm going to go with Alabama. My NBA draft prospect X factor is Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson is a guy that I think is the X factor. I just can't seem to figure out why he hasn't been able to consistently showcase how talented he is. To me, when I think about Grant Nelson, I think about the guy that had the monster game against North Carolina last year. 24 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks. He was 6 of 9 from the floor, 2 of 2 from 3, and was 10 of 13 from the foul line. He was aggressive. He showed the athleticism. He showed the defense. Then he had a game against Clemson where he kind of came back down to earth, only 8 points. But then in their last game last year in the Final Four, he had 19 points, 15 rebounds. So I'm like, all right, the talent is there. He has the tools to, in my opinion, dominate games, but he doesn't do it consistently. And so far in this year's NCAA tournament, he just really hasn't done much. He had a big play where he got the guy on a pump fake and drove down the lane and had a big dunk against, I think it was against Robert Morris. But in the Robert Morris game, he only had 5 points, only had 12 points in the game against St. Mary's. So he hasn't had I know he's coming off an injury, but he's only taken 10 shots total. but I think Grant Nelson could be the X factor for BYU. And as far as like a strong performance from him could play a major role in his draft stock in a sense, even though, I think he's in the second round to undrafted range. I think that he's going to need some performances like he had last year against North Carolina and UConn to at least solidify himself as a second round pick.
Well, the thing is with Grant, he isn't healthy, and I think that's why you haven't seen like the monster game. But he's going to have his work cut out this game with BYU's bigs. So like Traore is massive, even though he's like 6'6", and then Kebaketa, like they have good bigs, they roll, the floor is spaced out. I believe you hurt his knee, right? Like his knee is gonna be tested as far as the mobility against BYU because they play spaced out basketball. I think the X factor for BYU, and I guess I don't know if you really call it X factor, but Egor. Which version of Egor are you going to get in this game? So in the tournament, he's played well. He's made 9 of 21 shots. You'll take that. And he's played 27 minutes and 31 minutes. But the prior 2 games against Houston basically shuts everybody down, but he was 2 for 9. Against Iowa State, he was 1 for 4. In both those games, he played less than 25 minutes. So which version of Egor Demin are you going to get? And I will say this, if you get the version, and even the last game against Wisconsin, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but he flirted with a triple-double. Even if he doesn't shoot the ball well and he fills the stat sheet, I think he can, and it's not, I guess it's not fair to base it off of one game, but he's a top 20 talent if he's making shots and is aggressive. And aggressive doesn't necessarily mean looking to score, but aggressively rebounding, aggressively trying to make plays outside of like the obvious play. So I think Egor can make himself some more money this tournament if he just keeps it up. And again, Alabama's going to be an up and down game. It's a perfect opportunity for him to flirt with another triple-double.
Yeah, as far as Egor, I thought the VCU matchup was going to be a tough one for him. And I mean, he passed that test with flying colors. They started off the game putting a smaller guard on him and kind of getting this airspace, and those type of matchups had given him some trouble earlier in the year. And he was aggressive. He was looking to shoot threes, and they ended up winning that game. And to me, that was his best game of the year. Yes, he had better performances against Sisters of the Blind Tech and Eastern State Community College. I'm sorry, no offense to those schools, but to me, he hadn't really had any like strong performances since Thanksgiving. To me, that was his best game against, on a bright stage.
Yeah.
But I wonder with Alabama, they have the type of smaller guards that can kind of give him some fits and kind of give him some trouble.
Yeah.
And it's back to Alabama. I think like with Grant Nelson, he had a game against Auburn a few weeks ago where he showed what he can do. 23 points, 8 rebounds. He was 8 of 15 from the floor. And that was a game they won against Auburn a couple weeks ago. I think for him, having a performance like that is going to be really, really key and maybe convincing NBA scouts that he's draftable. And while with Egor, I think he's going to need a game similar to what he had against VCU. I mean, he doesn't have to have, like you said, a crazy monster game scoring 20 points. But if he can show that he can handle ball pressure and continue to just make the right reads and rebound and just control the game, then I think it could really, really help his draft stock. Because I'll be honest, I just felt like his draft stock was slipping a little bit. And I know people were just like, it doesn't matter because of his size. But to me, it would be hard to say that if the season ended with how he played at the end of the Big 12 tournament, that he was a lock to go into the lottery. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is 200 extra bucks to use with everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and you can even pick who is cutting down the nets. FanDuel is simple. It is very easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. So there is no waiting around. So again, FanDuel.com to get in on the action for the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and the Final Four. FanDuel.com. And this is not just a complexion comparison, as you would say, but I also think that Josh Giddey's play as of late has probably helped Egor in the eyes of some people, because there are some similarities as far as being bigger guards, pass first, questionable shooting, but everyone knows that the passing and the playmaking is the main appeal. What are your thoughts on how Josh Giddey's play may have an impact on Egor? Because it is a copycat league.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between the two of them, though, is like Giddey's aggressive. Now, he can't shoot consistently, and like that last year in Oklahoma City,
I don't know. Have you seen the numbers that he's been shooting this year? But go ahead.
But I'm saying, like, that last year in Oklahoma City was they zapped all his confidence. He had that other stuff going on too, and he was just a non-factor. But you see in Chicago, like, he's filling it up. And I mean, I want to go on a tangent. I really like Kobe White's game. Like, I've always liked his game. Like, that dude is the definition of a hooper. But I think the difference between Giddey and Egor is that Giddey's just more aggressive, just in general. Like, he's trying to get to the basket, and he's always crashing the glass. Whereas, like, Egor, I mean, some games he may rebound, some games he may not. It's like that certain, just that level of, I don't want to question his toughness, but assertiveness, he doesn't have. That Giddey does have. But lastly, on this Alabama game, I want to talk about LeBaron Philon. I imagine that he's going to guard Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
Because he's got
Egor Demin.
Yes, excuse me. Yeah, Egor Demin. He's 6'4", long arms. He's got that toughness that you want. He's going to try to get under his skin. But can LeBaron Philon defend? And I know he can, but will he be able to make shots? Like, he's off to, I mean, it's 2 games, but he hasn't really shot the ball well this tournament, and he struggled. And again, this is going to be an up and down game. You're going to have to make shots. Are they going to, you think the BYU coach, NBA pedigree, does he dare LeBaron Philon to shoot? You know what I'm saying? Because you're not making shots, and that messes with your confidence. So I really want to see Philon. And even with Grant Nelson being hurt, like, Philon is really good in pick and roll. Like, he's found something with, I believe his name was Clifford Umori. I may not be saying his last name right, but the lob threat is there. It's going to be a fun game, man.
Yeah, I think he can also really help his draft stock.
For sure.
And for the record, Josh Giddey, since the All-Star break, is shooting 53% from 3 on 4 attempts per game. 40% from 3 in March. He was 53% from 3 in February on 5 attempts per game. Josh Giddey's about to get paid this summer. He's up to 38% from 3 on the year. So I do think that Giddey's play in a copycat league could have an impact on Egor's draft status. Because some teams may say, hey, Josh Giddey was a guy that struggled with his outside shooting, and he just needed a change of scenery, and he turned the corner. Because I was at the playoffs last year, all the games that were in Dallas where the Mavs played the Thunder, and the Mavs left him wide open. They didn't even guard him. He made some, but it was the game plan, and they were going to live or die with him shooting threes, but Giddey has turned the corner this year. All right, let's talk about Florida and Alabama. For Florida, I think the X factor is going to be Walter Clayton. They needed every bucket that he had down the stretch in the game against UConn. I mean, they were on the ropes. The number 1 seed. Yes, UConn is a formidable opponent. They had won 13 games in a row in the NCAA tournament, coming off back-to-back championships. But Florida was the number 1 seed. UConn is not as talented as they've been in years past, but they were tough. They were scrappy. They have a good coach, but they needed Walter Clayton's shot making down the stretch to carry them. So to me, he is the X factor for Florida. I mean, it's almost like you can make a choice, whoever you want in that starting lineup. You can say it's Elijah Martin. You can say it's Condon or Houck or whoever. But I think Florida is going to go as far as Walter Clayton carries them, because they are going to need his shot making if it ends up being a close game.
What do you think about Walter Clayton as a prospect?
I mean, he's 6'3", he has good size. He averaged 4 assists this year. We know he can score. He does have the NBA level shot making that I
Sure.
like to see from a guard. I think he could end up being in a similar role, not saying they're the same player, but like a similar role as like KJ Simpson is. KJ Simpson was good
He's
last.
bigger than KJ Simpson, though.
He's bigger, but I'm just saying like probably somewhere in the second round, early second round, probably ends up getting guaranteed money, maybe a two-way, but I think he may get guaranteed money. And I just think he's going to end up playing, just being like rotation guy, maybe just outside the rotation guy as a rookie. But I see him as a top 40 pick. Some people like him in late first round, and we'll see. Maybe a deep Florida run, he could get there.
I think in the right situation, he could be like you mentioned, a rotation guard, like playing right away because he's a shot maker. Now, as a point guard, lead guard, he can pass, but I don't necessarily think he's a super high level playmaker. Like he's good when they double team him and he hits Condon on lobs and things, but is he like a super high level playmaker? No, but he might be the guy that just like, you know what, with the right opportunity, he would exceed wherever he's drafted because he's that good of a shot maker. He's money off the dribble, strong, like he's got the onions that you want to make shots. And I really like him. So I was just wondering. But as far as like the X factor, I want to say is going to be Florida's bigs and Alex Condon. It's a different matchup with Derik Queen and with Reese down there, like those dudes. But really, like, I mean, Queen and Maryland, they're the story, they're the darling. Obviously, if you're listening to me talk about Derik Queen, you know how I feel about Derik Queen, which I told you, Ralph, we talked earlier today. The shot that he made to beat Colorado State, three bigs in the NBA can make that shot right now. 2 MVPs in Shangoon. That's literally it. Like that's
Going
how.
left?
Who?
Going left?
Going left.
Off
Not
the
think
glass?
Shangoon has that going left. Yeah, I think so. But
Off the right foot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's a crazy shot.
3 bigs in the NBA. So you got 2 MVPs and an all-star. And whether you feel like Shangoon is not an all-star or not, I mean, Houston's going to finish in the top 3. He's their best player, if this season. But I feel like this matchup is going to be Alex Condon. I like him. I like the athleticism. I like the toughness. And he's going to have to outrun Queen, like use your speed to your advantage. But again, as far as just like him guarding Queen, and my biggest issue with Condon, I just don't think he has a lot of strength. I don't think he's had a matchup like this. I want to say Auburn.
Got to be Auburn. I mean, that's the closest.
But Broom didn't play when Florida played Auburn. Okay. So like this is a totally different animal. And I'd have to go back and check some of these box scores, but I don't think that he's seen anyone like this. I mean, like, okay, Alabama's big is, rim runner Yamori, and then high rate Grant Nelson. But like somebody like Queen that can beat you off the dribble, that can post, that can like has all the tools. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out for him. So that's going to be fun, man. I need another TV, man.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that these games are just.
And I still want to watch the NBA tomorrow too. So
man, I watched the NBA today, and I was like, "Yep, this is the last time I'm watching the NBA until what Sunday." I mean, I'll follow it, but let's go back to Walter Clayton. What is your draft range for him? I know you said obviously situational. You're thinking the right situation. He can be a rotation player next year, but like, what is your draft range?
25 to 35 for me. And again,
what situation or like what does he need to do, in your opinion, to get to 25? Where you think it's probably obviously the best case scenario for him based off of where you have him. What does he need to show?
Well, the film is the film. I don't think 2 more games is going to show you, even if they win 2 games, it was a national championship, assuming they beat Maryland. I don't think 2 more games is going to show you what he can do. It's just going to come down to like I think it's going to come down to who has the picks, right? So it's like just looking at it. Does a team like who's draft late? Does a team like the Clippers take him if they have a pick? I'm not. I don't know if they have a pick, but does he fit like the Clippers? Sure, because the Clippers need scoring off the bench, and Harden can defend however many positions he wants to defend. If it depends if he feels like moving his feet or not, they're gonna need somebody who can score because Kawhi ideally is not gonna play a full season. Like I feel like the Clippers would work for him, not Minnesota because they got guards who did something similar. But like I'd have to look. Do the Nuggets have a pick? He fits with what the Nuggets would do because I don't need him to be my a superior playmaker. I need you to come off these handoffs and score. So it's like, I think it depends on who has the pick. And just looking at it, again, I got to look and see. I really like him in Denver because, again, if I'm a bucket-getting guard that can kind of pass, please get me to Denver.
Yes. Send me to Denver, especially if you can shoot. If I'm that type of guard that likes to kind of score first, doesn't necessarily want to be like the table setter, but my playmaking is secondary, score first, I want to be in Denver. If I'm an athletic cutter, I want to be in Denver. If I'm like a 4-man dunker spot big, I want to be in Denver. But the Clippers, as of today, have the 30th pick, and then the Nuggets don't have a pick.
But okay, Orlando has the Nuggets pick. If I'm Orlando, I'm looking at him too because
I'm like, look, man, y'all got to clear out one of these guards. If you're Orlando,
you got to think
Cole Anthony. You got Suggs is always hurt.
Suggs is always hurt.
Black
is playing better. I got to look at Cole Anthony's contract situation. I think he's got to be up soon. I just feel like they still need another guard that can score, that can shoot, and he can shoot. And like you said, you don't need him to make a bunch of plays because the ball is going to be in Franz and Paolo's hands. I like him there. So, like I said, I think it just depends on how the ping pong balls or how who's going to buy a pick that late? It's a lot of factors that can go into it.
Yeah, Cole signed a $339 in October 2023. So this is actually the first year of the deal. So it's a team option in 26-27, and he's an unrestricted free agent in 27-28. I don't think Cole Anthony is going to be on the team next year. I could be wrong. I don't follow Orlando Magic basketball.
He's just
closely, but how many guards will that be in so many years?
Every year.
Well, last year they took the Silva. The year before they had multiple picks, but they took AB and Johnson.
Yeah. But Cole. So here's the thing with Cole: you're a 6'2" scoring guard, and you're a career 34% 3-point shooter, and that's just not gonna work if you're playing alongside two playmaking wings, And he hasn't been able to really find his footing outside, I believe, his second year, and he's just been struggling, man. And the contract is very movable, but we'll see. I think Walter Clayton works in Orlando. If I'm the Nuggets, I'm buying a pick. They need some help off the bench. Yeah, I'm buying a pick. I'm definitely bringing him in for a workout. And if I can't get him in the first, I got to look and see if they got a second because I feel like he would fit what they're trying to do perfectly, especially off the bench. And you don't need him to be something that he's not. He can just come in there and get buckets.
I'm sure they would love to dangle Zeke Naji for something.
Man, Zeke Naji fought for every pump fake, man.
Hey, but he got paid. All right, let's go back to Derik Queen. Queen is obviously just, he's riding the wave off that crazy difficult shot. Now you're starting to see people consistently rank him in the top 10.
And it's like they just now getting the bigger picture, right?
Yeah, but I get why some people were a little bit slower to jump on the Queen train. Now, let's say he absolutely dominates Alex Condon, or the other way around. Condon absolutely puts Queen in jail, locks him up. Queen struggles with him. How do you think this matchup could possibly impact draft stock? Because, we're human. Like, you shouldn't just base a decision off of one game, right? Or two
Right.
games or NCAA tournament. But there is a human element to it. There is a factor to where if it's a game where Queen absolutely just showcases the skill set like he did against Michigan, then you may say, hey, I really like him. Or it could be a situation, let's say he struggles a little bit with length and Florida has a game plan that kind of shuts him down. Then if there's concerns that you may have, like you said, you would like Condon to just outrun him or you think he should outrun him. And let's say that happens. Somebody could say that's my concern there and it's a little bit magnified. So anyway, with all that being said, how do you think that matchup could possibly impact draft stock?
See, I think Queen is too talented. Okay, for Condon, he's too talented for Condon's length to bother him because he's not just giving you work on the block. Like if Condon is guarding Queen on the perimeter, Queen will rip through and he scores on. It feels like everybody on rip throughs, guards, wings. Like these kids, they crowd him, and he's too big, he's too strong. He can get you on your hip. And he got junk because he might shoot off his right foot like he did against Colorado State. I don't foresee him struggling unless he's missing shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they can make it difficult for him on the offensive end just because I just think he's just too talented. Like, and again, I think what Condon is 6'11", 220. Queen is 240 and he uses it. Like, I think he's too skilled. But like I mentioned, I think that there's a way if the game gets real up and down and you sit here and say, you know what, let's test his conditioning. I think, Condon, because again, Condon is an athlete, like he's fast, not just for bigs. He can rim run and maybe you get Queen in some foul trouble because he's trying to, catch up. But I think Queen is going to play extremely well. And that's not just me being, on the Queen team. Like, I just think he has just too much talent for college basketball for bigs. And like I said, the games that I've seen him struggle is because he's been in foul trouble. And sometimes the foul trouble that's a lack of focus on defense. That's how you're going to catch him. But they're going to put him in pick and roll. Walter Clayton's he's going to have his work cut out on him. I saw an interview. They said he won't give up the game plan because Maryland may switch. Maybe they don't switch. I don't think he can play drop against Walter Clayton because he makes every jump shot. But if he goes out there and switches, it's like maybe he gets in foul trouble, or Raf, maybe he looks like that video that I put out a couple months ago where you see like, oh, big boy can move his feet. He can stay in front of guards. And, he's staying in front of a potential first-round pick that's got a lot of game off the dribble. And real quick about Queen, last 9 games, Raf, 1.5 blocks, 1 steal. Like, you'll take that. On top of the offense and averaging 10 rebounds a game.
In the Colorado game, he had a big,
he's a high IQ defender, man. I've been saying that.
I think some people would find that statement debatable, but I love the matchup because it's like they're similar, but they're opposites. They're similar in the fact that they're both, and I'm talking about Alex Condon and Derik Queen. They're both bigs that can, they got some stuff off the DHOs, off the dribble handoffs. They're both really good connective passers and just good passers. The difference is, Condon is like the big that you like because he doesn't need a high usage. He's going to be able to impact the game with just whether it's his motor, his athleticism, just kind of being at the right place at the right time, the passing and the defense. While Queen is your guy that's going to impact the game with just his talent and his skill set. But you have to maximize Queen by giving him the ball. And the part of the matchup that I think is going to be interesting is because although Queen is very skilled and can do stuff out on the perimeter, he's also still a guy that's like, if I can feel you, I'm going to kill you type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Condon has the body type that sometimes gives those type of players trouble. If you can't find his body, but he knows how to use his length to alter the shot. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing in that matchup. Are there going to be a bunch of possessions where they go one-on-one and ISO?
Nah.
Where they give? I don't think so. But it's like the game within the game that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they defend him, and also how Maryland's going to defend those good guards at Florida too, because I don't think that you had anybody outside of Rutgers, where they just beat the brakes off Rutgers. Like, you haven't seen Elijah Martin, you haven't seen a Walter Clayton, and on the same team, on top of that, they got athletic bigs too. So it's gonna be a fun game, man. Like I said, I'm up here in my office now thinking about how I can jimmy these TVs together so I can watch 3 games of basketball at the same time.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have.
I got 2 TVs up here. They just
big
small.
Money. Big money, big money.
I ain't really stunned, man. I didn't say they were new.
I mean, as long as they don't got the fat back.
No. These toys I can pick up. I can pick these up.
Well, that wraps up this episode where we talk about the Sweet 16 NBA prospect X factors in the Alabama versus BYU game in Florida and Maryland. We had to put this into 2 episodes. Sometimes when it's me and James, man, we just get to chatting and we can't just squeeze it all into 1 episode. But we are going to do a part 2 where we're going to talk about Duke versus Arizona. So you don't want to miss that one. Stay tuned.